All right, and welcome once again. We're here, Ask a Lawyer on CP24. Good to have you along for the week. John Scholes here, as always, and momentarily on the other side of your screen, popping in will be Lior Samfiru, employment lawyer at EmploymentLawyer.ca. We always tell you right off the top, reach out to Lior anytime. Phone number is first. How about that? 1-855-821-5900. Ask at EmploymentLawyer.ca. Do not hesitate with any employment law woes, workplace problems. Reach out to Lior. There's always a solution. But do not do it on your own. We keep telling you that each week as we get rid of the myths and misconceptions about workplace rights. That's what we do every week. So thank you so much for tuning in. Stick around for the half hour. I can guarantee you one thing, you will learn lots for sure. Over the course of the half hour, we'll get to some radio show phone calls, and we'll get to some other things. And we always have a main topic, this time navigating the performance improvement plan. We call it the PIP. That is coming up in the second part of the show, so stick around for that. And we'll even delve into a little disability law, the other half of what Lior's firm does. But that's all just ahead. We always kick off and get things warmed up, Lior, my brother, with the week that was, a case of the day. What do you got for us this week? What's going on? There he is.
Hey, Johnny. Great to be here to talk employment law, to try to demystify this topic for all our good viewers. There's so many issues that may come up in the course of your workplace life, and you need to know how to deal with these issues, how to navigate them, to know what your rights are, what's legal and illegal. So important. And on this show every week, we'll tell you those things. We'll tell you what to do if you lost your job, like so many people are losing their jobs right now, what your rights are, what your employer can and cannot do. We'll tell you what you need to know if you're being mistreated, bullied, harassed, discriminated against. Of course, what to do if your job is changed, your compensation, your hours of work. Guess what? In all those situations, you have some very serious and very extensive legal rights. And on this show, we address these issues. We tell you what you need to know. We arm you with that knowledge. Of course, this is only a 30-minute show. And beyond this show, you may still have questions. Very easy to reach out, to connect, and get me to roll up my sleeves. All you do that is get you the contact information. You get that throughout the show. You can call, you can email, you can fax if you prefer, whatever you want. We're going to give you all that information. But now that we know what we're here to do, let's actually go ahead and do it. Let me tell you about the case of the day, a situation that I addressed very recently. I spoke with a gentleman that had been off on a disability leave for just over a year. He had a serious back issue and was working really, really hard to get better, get healthier, and provided his employer with doctor's notes. He was off and did exactly as his doctor told him. Well, he got some good news from his doctor. Doctor said, you know what, you're ready to go back to work. You've healed up well, you're healthy, you should go back to work. So he shared the good news with his employer and said, yeah, I'm ready to come back to work. His employer said, fantastic, keep an eye out on the schedule. We're going to figure some stuff out and we'll plug you back into the schedule. Fantastic. Well, fast forward a week, nothing. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, he follows up, still nothing. It's now been 2 months. No schedule, no hours, no return to work, and he's being ghosted by his employer. So he does the right thing, thankfully. He calls me, and he wants to understand what are his rights and how long can this keep going? How long can his employer not put him on his schedule when he's been cleared to come back to work? Well, John, this is now a termination of employment. He doesn't have to wait. His employer had the obligation to take him back pretty much as soon as that doctor said he's clear to come back to work. They can't string him along. They can't put him off work. They have to bring him back. And if there's no job, they have to pay him his full severance. So what this employer did is illegal. It's a constructive dismissal, potentially a human rights violation as well. Can't do that. Remember, when you're off on a medical leave and you're ready to come back to work, you've been clear to go back, doctor says you're good to go, your employer needs to take you back. Not later, not when they're ready, not at the beginning of the year, right away. And if they don't do that, there are legal consequences. So I'm going to help this guy. Message there for you, and the lesson, very important. Get that doctor's note. If you're trying to come back to work and your employer's not cooperating, I'm right here. Give me a call.
Great start, Lior. Appreciate that. As we always do in the show, the second thing we get to is a phone call. So we'll listen up and take it apart and again learn from it. Here comes pal. Listen up.
Family member of mine was just recently given a written working notice after working full-time for 37 years with the company. In this time, since she's gotten the notice till she's being paid, but at the end of that, basically they just pay out any unused vacation for the year. There's no sort of severance. There was some issues with a bit of ageism in the workplace too, so just kind of looking at options.
Similarly, how many months' notice did she receive?
About 8, 9.
So the first thing we need to point out is if you receive advance notice of termination of employment, that notice does count towards your severance. So if you're owed 24 months notice and you're given 8 months, that counts towards those 8 months counts towards the 24 months. But if you didn't get enough notice, your employer has to make up that difference, of course, by way of paying you severance. So in this case, what we need to figure out is if the 8 or 9 months notice that the person got of the termination of employment, whether that notice is sufficient. How do we do that? Well, one easy way to do that is simply we use the severance calculator. You can find that at EmploymentLawyer.ca. Let's do that right now and let's see what we get. So we know that this person is an executive assistant, been there for 37 years, 63 years of age, and got 8 months notice. That 8 months notice is the same as severance. Well, she should have gotten as much as 24 months, okay? That's the right amount. So the employer has to make up that difference at the end of employment. She did not get enough notice. She's owed the difference by way of severance. By the way, you at home, to find out how much you're owed if you lost your job, what is the appropriate severance, you could do that anytime. Just go to PocketEmploymentLawyer.ca.
And as Lior mentioned right there, that is also free and anonymous anytime you like to check out that website. Okay, short break, back into it. Main topic, performance improvement plan. How do you navigate it? We will fill you in on the other side as we continue lots more Ask a Lawyer right here on CP24. Stay with us.
Lost your job? Disability denied? Ask a Lawyer is here for you. Each week, experts from EmploymentLawyer.ca answer your questions. Visit cp24.com/askalawyer and watch Mondays and Wednesdays at 9 p.m. on CP24.
All right, welcome back to Ask a Lawyer on CP24. Again, John Scholes here and Lior Sanfiru. Reach out anytime, ask at EmploymentLawyer.ca, and make that phone call right there, 1-855-821-5900. Scan that little QR code if you'd like to in the top right of your screen. It is main topic time, as we do it every week. This week, as I mentioned off the top of the show, guys, it's going to be navigating a performance improvement plan, the PIP. Lior, I guess the first and most obvious question is, what is a performance improvement plan, and what does it mean when you really put on one? It can be kind of scary, or maybe not. You fill in the blanks, pal. What do you think?
So the idea behind a performance improvement plan is that it would be a way for employers to address employees that are underperforming. So it's a document that outlines how employers are going to address those underperforming employees. It's going to outline the issues with the employee, what they need to do to improve, the timelines for improvement, and of course, what the employer is going to do to support them in order for them to get to the right level of performance. So the idea behind this is if we have an employee that's not doing a good job, let's figure out a way to help them. Let's get them to where they need to be so that they can be productive and successful. So while that idea is a good one, and if used properly, a performance improvement plan can be a good idea and very effective, the problem is that some employers don't use it in good faith, and they use it as a way to build up a case to terminate an employee for cause. They don't use it because they really want to help the employee. They use it because they want to find a way to fire the employee for cause. And that's what we want to focus on, what to do in those situations. So the idea behind it, good. Sometimes the implementation of it could be not so good.
So if I'm an employee, say, Lior, and I've been put on this performance improvement plan, I'm getting the feeling it's unfair. What do I have to go through to protect myself? How do I do that?
So the key with the performance improvement plan is this. If you don't agree with it, if you don't think it's fair, you don't think it's accurate, if you don't think it's complete, you have to say so, and you have to say so in writing. So what I want you to do, if you don't agree with the performance improvement plan, if you don't think it covers what it needs to cover, or that it's not properly put in place, send an email to your employer, okay, telling them, here's why I don't agree with it, or here's what you've missed, here's the information that you didn't include. Put that there on the record, because if you say nothing, it's the same as accepting. It's the same as saying, yeah, I'm okay with it. And then that could be used against you. On the other hand, if you respond to it, if you make it clear that you're not okay with it, that there's other issues that you haven't accepted, it can't be used against you. And what you're doing there is you're going to make it that much harder for your employer to let you go for cause. So very, very important. Don't just be silent on a performance improvement plan you don't agree with, or even a negative review that you don't agree with. Respond to it in writing. Of course, I want you to be professional. I want you to be respectful, but respond in writing always to protect yourself and protect your job.
So on the, on the back end of the performance improvement plans, you say you're not cutting the mustard, right? Say you're failing the performance improvement plan, for lack of a better term, Lior. Can that lead to a firing for cause?
So I want you to keep in mind that it is extremely difficult to terminate an employee for cause. It's only for the worst offenders where an employer can do that. So the fact that your performance may be lacking, or the fact that the performance improvement plan did not improve your performance, does not mean you can be fired for cause. Not at all. To be fired for cause, it almost has to be a situation where you're kind of almost doing it on purpose, doing a bad job. So if you're doing your best, but your performance is not where it needs to be, even in the face of the performance improvement plan, it does not mean you can be fired for cause. If your employer wants you gone, they have to pay you severance. Of course, as much as 24 months, that's what the severance is. So very important to remember that. I want that to be a message to all employees. If you're let go and your employer is saying that they have cause, unless you know you did something awful, that's probably a wrongful dismissal, and you have to give me a call right away.
All right, Lior, good stuff. If you want to learn more about the performance improvement plan, or if you're on one or you think you might be getting on one, give Lior a call anytime for more details and any further questions you have. Speaking of phone calls, want to get to another phone call from one of our radio shows, Lior, and answer what they have to say, their questions. So here it comes. Listen up.
So my question is, I was employed for commission sales for about 7.5 years. I was terminated along with a few other people. I was given severance, the minimum. We were never paid vacation pay when we were there. And when I brought it up during my termination, I was told that it was part of my commission. So,
this is a good example of a situation where someone calls me upset for good reason, but they're not actually asking the right question. And here's what I mean by that. The real issue here is not even vacation pay. I'll address that in a second. The real issue is that this person was offered their minimum severance, which is nonsense. The minimum severance is irrelevant, okay? You're owed much more than that. So right off the bat, this guy could be owed 2, 3, 4, 5 times the severance offered, okay? That's the real issue. That's true for everyone. Now, with respect to vacation pay, no, your commission doesn't include your vacation pay. You have to get paid vacation pay on top of your commissions. But that amount is probably very small in comparison to the severance that he's owed. John, I see this often happen. People call me because they don't think they got their vacation pay or their overtime calculated correctly, or maybe the employer filled out the record of employment not the right way, incorrectly, when they're really not realizing that they could be owed months and months of pay by way of severance. It's almost always going to be the main issue if you lose your job, your severance. You're probably owed a lot more than you've been offered, a lot more than you realize. And yes, but to go back to vacation pay, of course, if you get paid commissions, you get paid bonuses, etc., vacation pay is on top of that, not included in it.
All right, Lior, we're going to take a short break right here, but we're going to switch tracks as we always do at this part of the show and discuss a little bit of the other half of what the firm does. That would be disability law. Very important as well. You'll want to learn about this. That's on the other side of the short break as we continue here. More Ask a Lawyer on CP24.
Lost your job? Disability denied? Ask a Lawyer is here for you. Each week, experts from EmploymentLawyer.ca answer your questions. Visit cp24.com/askalawyer and watch Mondays and Wednesdays at 9 p.m. on CP24.
And welcome back. Ask a Lawyer, CP24. Good to go here. As I mentioned just before the break, we're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about something that the other firm does, or at least the other half of what the firm does. That would be disability law. The contact, similar, almost the same, to reach out by email, ask@disabilityrights.ca for this half of the firm's dealings. And the phone number, that remains the same though, 1-855-821-5900. Okay, Lior, before we get into a phone question via the disability portion, want to just give us a quick breakdown of what this half of the firm does. I know it's a big portion of what you guys do. So exactly what does that entail, pal?
So, John, we've been talking about employment law. And employment law, the laws could be quite different and they could be quite complicated. So it makes sense that there's these issues, disputes between employers and employees. Well, when it comes to disability law, on its face with disability law, it should be pretty straightforward. You have a disability plan that you've been paying for, you're sick and can't work. That's where that plan comes in, and they should pay you until you're able to work again. Pretty straightforward. Well, unfortunately, and this is something that's so frustrating for many people, insurance companies find way to complicate this unnecessarily. They cut you off before you're ready to come back to work. They don't believe your doctor. They say you're not sick enough, or that they don't have enough information, that you said something to contradict yourself. And they use that to cut you off and deny those benefits that you so desperately need. So as frustrating as that is, we've said enough. We have a team dealing with this exclusively, a team which makes sure that the insurance company abides by its obligations. If you have a disability plan, we'll make sure that they pay you what they owe you, as they should, so that you can focus on getting better. We're very good at this. Our team is the best in the country at that. So if you're having any issues with your disability insurer, I want you to reach out so we can help you get this issue resolved.
I want to remind you as well, the consultations are free, so don't let that be a deterrent to reach out to Savannah and the team and Lior and his partner with any issues in that regard. Okay, I mentioned a phone call, audio question. Here it comes, Lior. Listen up.
I'm a nurse applying for long-term disability. I have vestibular dysfunction causing falls, severe migraines, fibromyalgia, and chronic fatigue. I've done physio, see multiple specialists, and now struggle with depression and anxiety. All my scans are negative. What happens if the insurance company turns me down?
Great question.
Yeah, this is exactly what I'm talking about. This person, she's not lying. She's not making stuff up. She's not imagining these symptoms. But not all symptoms come up in scans. Fibromyalgia is a great example of that. And we've seen again and again an insurance company saying, well, we don't know. So we don't know if your doctor's telling the truth. So we're going to deny you benefits or cut you off those benefits. Nonsense. If you're sick and you cannot work, even if it doesn't show up properly in a scan, if your doctor says you cannot work, that is all that the insurance company should need. Some people have mental health issues. Again, they don't suffer or they don't come up on scans. So none of that matters. If your doctor supports you and you know you're sick, the insurance company should be paying you. So if they play those games, no problem. Let us know. We will deal with them. We will make sure they do what they're supposed to so that you can focus on getting better.
I want to move on to a quick email question here, Lior, when it comes to the disability side of things. As you know, it says this: if I lose my appeal with the insurance company, should I stop trying to get long-term disability benefits?
John, that is exactly what your insurance company wants you to do. They want you to try to appeal this, and then when you get denied, and you will get denied, you'll think, well, there's nothing else that I can do. The internal appeal process that an insurance company provides is a waste of time. It doesn't help you. It doesn't get you benefits. It's there to frustrate you. So not only should you not give up, I wouldn't even bother with it at all. Let us deal with it. Let us take that issue out of their hands and deal with it properly. Okay, the law takes care of it. We have a court system. And once you tell the insurance company, I'm not giving up, I'm going to go and get what I'm owed, they're going to pay. So let us do our job and don't waste your time with that appeal process.
Again, that half of the firm, the other side of the hallway, ask@disabilityrights.ca, and the same phone number applies as well. We'll take one more short break here, Lior. On the other side, we'll wrap it up with another phone call. Back to employment law, so stick around for that as we continue Ask a Lawyer right here on CP24.
Lost your job? Disability denied? Ask a Lawyer is here for you. Each week, experts from EmploymentLawyer.ca answer your questions. Visit cp24.com/askalawyer and watch Mondays and Wednesdays at 9 p.m. on CP24.
Welcome back. Ask a Lawyer. A few minutes to go here, so we're going to wrap up this week nicely, put a bow around it with a final phone call, Lior. So listen up. Here it comes.
I've been working at the same company for, well, it was 17 years when I got laid off last year. Now it's been a whole year, 13 months. Does that get added on to the severance? Like, would I ask for 18 years of severance, or is it 17 years of severance?
So, John, the time that you spend on a temporary layoff does count towards your total seniority and therefore will increase your severance. But here's the thing, for most people, you don't actually have to accept a temporary layoff. You can consider that potentially as a termination and get your full severance. We do need to see how much severance he's owed. So we're going to go once more to PocketEmploymentLawyer.ca and use the severance calculator. So we know there's 18 years of service in a technical role, 56 years of age. Severance, nothing yet, but we know, you see that right at the bottom, he's owed as much as 18 months of severance, 18 months. So check out PocketEmploymentLawyer.ca. It's free, anonymous, easy to use, and keep in mind with respect to temporary layoffs.
That caller will be relieved when he goes and sees that on screen. Or again, as Lior said, PocketEmploymentLawyer.ca anytime. You can do it for yourself with that severance calculator. We are out of time. We thank you so much for tuning in and contributing to the show. If that was your phone call or email, keep them coming. We love them. Reach out to Lior anytime as well. 1-855-821-5900. Ask at EmploymentLawyer.ca. And for all other concerns at cp24.com/askalawyer. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you again next week.